think I've got enough red going on to talk about this movie, or at least the best thing that's in this movie. Hey everybody, no real impetus for this, but that's kind of the point of the break room. I can just talk about whatever is kind of on my mind. It's a lot less pressure. That's why it's here. So, this past weekend, from when I'm filming this, I don't know when it'll go up. I don't have a plan. Me? Do I look like somebody who has a plan? No, I watched Legend with Liz. She'd never seen it before, and I haven't seen it in probably over a decade, despite owning it and growing up on it and loving it. And when I went and met Tim Curry, the image that I chose to take that was signed by him was of Darkness from Legend. But it's been a long time since I've seen it. Liz, I think Liz enjoyed it. It's not quite her bag. The fairy tale vibe of it, which it kind of leans on to gloss over the fact that a lot of things kind of go under or completely unexplained. That's not quite her deal. But this was really fun for me to revisit. There are some things that I had forgotten. There were some things that I just reminded me what I love about this movie. So there's a couple of things about Legend. The first is, I should say what version that I actually prefer, because there is, like so many Ridley Scott movies, what is it with this guy? There is the theatrical cut and there is also a director's cut. In this case, the differences in terms of the movie itself, as far as what's included and plot and things like that, are very minor. There isn't a massive change from the director's cut to the theatrical cut. It's not like Blade Runner. It's definitely not like Kingdom of Heaven or anything like that. The main difference is the soundtrack. The theatrical version had a soundtrack put together by a band called Tangerine Dream, and the original had a more sort of standard symphony style soundtrack, because Tangerine Dream is a little bit electronic, whereas the Jerry Goldsmith did the soundtrack that is on the director's cut, and I prefer Tangerine Dream. Actually, quite a bit. It gives it a much more unique vibe, a little bit like how the slightly off-kilter soundtrack, not just songs, but soundtrack to, say, Labyrinth, adds a unique vibe to that, whereas the score that Jerry Goldsmith did was good, but it wasn't unique. Not the way the Tangerine Dream one was. That having been said, the song that's at the very end of the theatrical cut, that like when, people are waving goodbye and it's leaving, that song is awful. Like, the lyrics are so stupid. It's so overblown 80s, and it grates. I tend to turn it off before the credits, or I would have if it wasn't Liz's first time watching it. So that's the version that I watched. This has that really wonderful aesthetic that I like if you can find something that can pull it off. And I think the number of things that pull it off is not that many. But it doesn't look real like the world, but it looks gorgeous. And it's not doing that like trying to be surreal. It is, it's a forest, it's a dungeon, it's things and it doesn't look real, but it looks amazing. You can see the work that was poured into this, and just across the board, how much time and effort, and glitter. There's glitter on everything in this movie. I had forgotten how virtually every character has glitter on them, and nearly every surface and prop glitters. It's kind of ridiculous, but in a way that I like. And you do have to be able to go with the fairy tale vibe, because there's lots of things that you're just not going to get backstory on. Everything from how the characters of Jack and Lily, who are nominal leads, met, how they know each other. They seem to have completely and utterly different lives. How did any of this come about? No, you're not going to find out about that. A ton of background on where Darkness, the villain, came from, or how things entirely work with him, because he seems to have this odd relationship with this other entity that he kind of has a conversation with, and he pleads for help from towards the very end. Like, what is that? Doesn't really get explained. The relationships between the various elves and fairies seem a little bit odd at times that don't really get explained. But for me, I roll with it. I roll with it for a couple of reasons. First is I saw this initially when I was quite young. So my movie taste and the kinds of things that oftentimes my mother would introduce me to, I kind of was used to certain elements going over my head slightly. And it tended to get filed under, well, okay, I don't get that, but I like the rest of this. Like, there are things, just even about Star Wars, like, I don't even remember seeing Star Wars for the first time. But there were things about Star Wars, seeing it at 3 or 4 or whatever, or Ghostbusters, which is my favorite movie of all time. There was stuff I didn't get, and I knew I wasn't getting it, but I still loved the movie. So I think as a young kid, the things that don't really get explained didn't bother me because I was kind of used to seeing things and not totally understanding all of it, but still finding enjoyment anyways. But then as an adult, because it's working on that fairy tale vibe and it's working on fairy tale rules, why does the death of one unicorn plunge the world into winter and yet the humans appear to be frozen in time? So it's not just winter, it's something else, but why didn't that happen to Lily? If that's what's going on. Doesn't matter. Because this is the story we're telling. Let us tell you the story. So asking why, to even want to ask why is to kind of come at it from the wrong angle. And of course, this has an interesting cast. It has a very young Tom Cruise who does pretty well. He squats a lot in this movie. He's in a squatting position quite a bit. Probably worked his thighs quite a bit to do this film. I actually really like the fairies. I like Gump quite a bit. He has a Puck vibe to him that I like, and I love the dubbed voice on him. There's actually, funnily enough, there's an odd sort of theme of gender bending. I don't mean like theme to the story, but theme to the making of it, because Gump is played by a young man, voice dubbed over by a woman, and then you have Blix the Goblin, which is a male character being played by a woman, and then later on you have Meg Mucklebones, which is a female character being played by a man. That just tickles me. I can't imagine why. But, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Tim Curry is the reason to see this, even now. And it's the reason it stuck in my head, and it is the thing that holds up the best. Not just his performance, which is, scenery chewing at its most glorious. Normally saying that someone chews the scenery is used derogatorily, but I mean it as the highest compliment when I talk about Tim Curry, because he almost feels too big for the screen. And only a performance like that could have not gotten lost in the makeup, because the look of darkness, everything about him, just how big they make him look. He had a neck brace that they had to disguise with makeup and prosthetics just so he could hold his head up straight with these massive horns, and everything about the face and these deep ridges and this brow and this chin, which is insane. Any actor should just get lost in that makeup. We're never going to get a performance through all that. Tim Curry can. And he does. And it's phenomenal. He owns every moment that he's on screen. And this was tough for him. I've heard that when he was being courted to do It, and to play the clown Pennywise, he was very insistent. You have to be sure the makeup is minimal and it can be applied quickly. Because I've done a movie recently where I spent 10 hours in a makeup chair and I'm not doing it again. So, he went through a lot to play this part, but you can't tell that this is a physical burden on him. It's just, the film, he almost swallows up the film in a way. But again, the size and the scope and the build of everything makes him actually fit in this world. So he is a fitting villain for something of this size and this weird, artificial but incredibly tangible nature that Legend has as a film. This was really fun for me to rewatch. And I just wanted to chat about it a little bit because I've seen it again recently. So why the heck not? Legend. Have you seen it? Have you rewatched it lately? Yes? No? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them on down in the comments. Let's talk about it. This is, of course, the secondary channel for Council of Geeks. Subscribe over there if you haven't already, or subscribe here if you haven't. That'd be nice, too. Patreon, like, share, subscribe, comment. I got links to social medias. Don't worry about it, though. It's okay. No pressure. We're laid back here. We take it easy. So just come on back next time you need a break.